Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Graham Horn, an exploration geologist by profession. I'm the acting HOD of geology for Endiama's Projecto Combined in Angola. As of October, I would have been in the diamond game for 10 years. This talk is about the classification of the Rooikoppie gravels. I first encountered these gravels when I started working for Rockwell Diamonds back in 2014. My first assignment was to work with a local digger on a project that was focused primarily on Rooikoppie. I realized while working on this project that the knowledge about Rooikoppie largely existed verbally amongst the diggers. There's a scattering of articles out there, but nothing substantial, so there is room to contribute. The challenge was to sift through the myriad of colorful beliefs regarding these gravels. The main one being the famous Afrikaans adage, "'n diamant is soos 'n vark, hy lê net waar hy wil," which, when translated into English, is, "Diamonds are like a pig, they lie where they want to." This body of work is an attempt to find out where the pigs lie. While being ubiquitously worked for diamonds along both the Vaal and Orange rivers for over 100 years, the Rooikoppie gravels have received significantly less study than the kimberlites and diamond ferrous alluvial gravels located within the same environs. Having a better understanding of these gravels is of economic importance, as the operations processing these gravels are often the lifeblood of the rural communities in which these operations reside. These operations provide both direct and indirect employment opportunities to the members of these communities. This study focuses on the Rooikoppie gravels found along the Middle Orange River, which is the stretch of river that starts at the Vaal-Orange confluence at the town of Douglas and ends at the town of Priska. The two operations involved in this study are Waterspan and Reemhoogte. Waterspan is located on the northern bank halfway down the Middle Orange River, and Reemhoogte is located on the southern bank near Priska. The study seeks to develop an effective tool that can describe and characterize the Rooikoppie gravel found along the Middle Orange River and determine if there is a relationship between the Rooikoppie gravel and the underlying geology. The fluvio-alluvial sequences of the Middle Orange River were deposited on a dwicatillite of Karoo age. This dwicatillite bedrock is flat-lying and typically comprises a matrix-supported diamictite with both local and transported pebbles and boulders as dropstones in a rock flower matrix. The fluvio-alluvial sequences were deposited on this bedrock at various elevations above the present-day Orange River, forming distinct terraces. These sequences consist of a combination of gravel and sand layers. Throughout these sequences, varying degrees of calcritization are evident, with the intensity of calcritization generally diminishing with increasing depth. Furthermore, these sequences are effectively capped by a calcrete layer measuring approximately 3 to 4 meters in thickness. Overlying the calcrete layer, it is not uncommon to encounter the Rooikoppie gravel, which represents a distinct sedimentary layer. Right, so what is Rooikoppie? Rooikoppie can be derived from the winnowing and decomposition of fluvio-alluvial gravel units. These destructive processes break down less resistant clastic and matrix material, resulting in a concentration of more durable material, with the most notable being diamonds. The typical mineral assemblage includes chert, agate, jasper, quartzite, and vein quartz. The class are typically well-rounded, polished, and set in a red-colored sand matrix. Rooikoppie is typically underlain by a layer of calcritized sedimentary sequences, such as alluvial deposits. The degree of calcritization varies on the initial material. If covered by soil, the upper extent of these calcrete layers have been observed to form dissolution cavities. These dissolution cavities are known as makondos, and can be found to be several meters deep and host Rooikoppie. Rooikoppie can also be colluvial. When the original landscape has been lowered, the gravel migrates with the aid of gravity, causing it to redistribute and thin out. The Rooikoppie classification is based upon the class sizes as determined by Wentworth. Pebbles are clastic material measuring in length between 4 and 64 millimeters. Cobbles are between 64 and 256 millimeters, while boulders are clasts that are greater than 256 but less than 4096 millimeters. Great, so now we know the size of the class used for this classification. How was the classification then practically applied? For surface mapping, areas were classified based on the percentage of those clasts present. Where the abundance of clasts were greater than 75% pebble, the area was classified as pebble-dominated. Where the abundance of clasts were greater than 75% cobble, the area was classified as cobble-dominated. Where it's more of an even mixture between the pebbles and the cobbles, the area was called pebble-cobble. Boulder-sized clasts were found to be present within the Rooikoppie, but their abundance was relatively low and rarely exceeded 25%. The pitting of the study area followed the surface mapping. The classification was then applied to each individual pit. The pits were dug until calcrete was intersected, and the abundance of the various class sizes, pebble, cobble, boulder, was then estimated visually. The lithologies present in each pit were then visually estimated as well. The classification scheme underwent testing through independent mapping and classification of the same area and exploration pits by multiple geologists. Upon comparison of the results, a consistent outcome was observed, indicating consensus amongst the geologists' findings. Here, in this image of the pit, you can actually see one of the Macondos which hosts Rooikoppie gravels. The Waterspan operation hosts 3 terraces: the B terrace, the C terrace, and the High Stoff dry terrace. The study conducted on Waterspan focused on the C terrace as it has both drilling and pitting data. The black dots represent the reverse circulation drilling, which was executed on a 100 by 50 meter grid, while the red points are infill exploration pits. In areas where there were no drilling has identified the presence of 5 fluvial-alluvial channels on the main C terrace. 4 of these channels form a part of an older braid plain, while the 5th channel is a younger meandering system that is incised one of the channels of the older braid plain. This system is flowing from east to west. The braid plain is demarcated by the yellow bedrock in the cross-section. This sequence forms deposits of considerable thickness, often in excess of 15 meters, and consists of rapidly aggraded material. The sequence is compacted and frequently cemented with secondary calcrete. In situ, the deposit displays horizontal stratification with occasional sandy units. The basal gravels generally comprise a poorly sorted assemblage of large boulders, cobbles, and pebbles, set in a sandy matrix that is considered to have been deposited by a large, high-energy braided system that would be readily capable of transporting diamonds. One of the channels of the braid plain, located towards the north, have been incised by a younger meandering channel, demarcated by the blue bedrock. This meandering channel cuts deeper into rock more than any of the channels of the braid plain. This younger channel has a coarse basal gravel and is separated by the finer sandy suspended gravels by a thick sand layer. All channels on this terrace have been capped with several meters of calcrete, on which Rooikoppie gravels can be found up to 2 meters thick. Surface mapping and pitting indicate that a coarse, cobble-dominant Rooikoppie gravel generally overlies the older channels. A finer, pebble-dominant Rooikoppie is found to occur over the younger channel, as well as the 1,010 meters above mean sea level plateau and the south dipping slope below this plateau. The Rooikoppie overlying the various channels appear to correspond with the fluvial-alluvial gravel found in the underlying channel. The coarse, dominant Rooikoppie is the deflation product of the basal units of the older channels, whereas the finer, pebble-dominant Rooikoppie, overlying most of the main channel, is the deflation product of the finer fluvio-alluvial suspended gravels. The finer Rooikoppie found on the south-dipping slope beneath the 1,010 meters above mean sea level plateau in the north is not underlain by any fluvial sequences. This Rooikoppie is colluvial, and was most likely derived from a fluvial package from a higher terrace that is now completely broken down. This level might have a different diamond population to the various channels hosted on the sea terrace. The banks of the present-day Orange River, 960 meters above mean sea level, had no Rooikoppie deposits. That is because not enough time had passed to cause the winnowing and decomposition of the fluvio-alluvial gravel units. Riemhoogte, the second operational part of the study, hosts an A-level terrace. It too underwent reverse circulation drilling and exploration pitting. Riemhoogte has 3 fluvial-alluvial channels. These 3 channels are known as the Western, Central, and Eastern channels. The Western channel has the highest bedrock elevation and therefore the oldest of the 3. The Eastern channel, which has a slightly lower bedrock elevation than the Western channel, is most likely to also be slightly younger than the Western counterpart. The Central channel, which flows from north to south, is still part of the braid plain, but it is the youngest channel discovered so far on the operation. The Western channel hosts a basal gravel, the mineral assemblage of which is typical of that of a Vaal River source. The Eastern channel's original source of its mineral assemblage is the Upper Orange River. This is evident due to the presence of Drakensberg basalts and quartzites. This channel also just has a basal gravel unit preserved. The mineral assemblage of the Central channel is comprised of Drakensberg basalts, associated zeolites, quartzites. The channel hosts a coarse basal unit which is separated from the finer suspended gravels by a sand unit. The fluvio-alluvial channels of Riemhoogte are effectively also capped by a calcrete layer, which in turn have Rooikoppie deposited on top. From the surface mapping and pitting, it was observed that the oldest channels, the Western and Eastern channels, host the cobble-dominated Rooikoppie, while the finer pebble-dominated Rooikoppie is found to overlie the youngest channel. Much like Waterspun, the overlying Rooikoppie corresponds to the underlying fluvio-alluvial gravels. The 2 channels flanking the center channel are undergoing active deflation of their respective fluvial-alluvial basal units. The Rooikoppie from these channels, found along the edges of the center channel, are undergoing colluvial movement. This coarse Rooikoppie has mixed in with the finer Rooikoppie found in the center channel. The source of the finer, pebble-dominated Rooikoppie, found in the center of this channel, is derived from the deflation of the underlying suspended fluvio-alluvial gravels. The diamond recovery data reflects the geological observations. The diamonds recovered from the Rooikoppie in the eastern and central channels are generally larger than the diamonds recovered from the western channel. These diamonds, with a large average stone size, are typical of a diamond population associated with the Upper Orange River, while the Western channel, with its smaller average stone size, is typical of diamonds sourced by the Vaal River. Even though the Eastern and Central channels have a similar source of diamonds, the consistency in grade differs. The grade of the Eastern channel is more consistent, as the Rooikoppie is derived from a basal gravel. The same has been observed for the Vaal-influenced Western channel. The grades in the Central channel are less consistent, as they are reliant on mobile trap sites produced by the finer, sandy, suspended gravels. So in conclusion, while the classification presented can identify different types of Rooikoppie gravel, it's not a silver bullet. The potential of this classification is realized when it is combined with other geological data, such as drilling or diamond data. The tool also supports the idea that Rooikoppie can either be eluvial or colluvial. Understanding the source of the Rooikoppie gravel plays a pivotal role in selecting areas for bulk sampling. The Rooikoppie produced by the deflation of a coarse basal fluvial-alluvial package make a better target than a Rooikoppie that's been produced from a sandy, pebbly, suspended gravel. Or identify areas where Rooikoppie gravels have mixed, such as the case of the colluvial Rooikoppie on the south-dipping slope at Voterspun, mixing with the alluvial Rooikoppie below on the main sea terrace, potentially resulting in the mixing of two separate diamond populations. Much like the patient growth of the iconic Witgatboom of the region, the work presented here has been undergoing incremental advancements. This presentation would not have been possible without the contributions and insight of Dr. Tanya Marshall and Glenn Norton. Acknowledgements also need to be given to the many workers, both past and present, who have contributed to the body of knowledge surrounding these understudied gravels. These gravels play such an important role in sustaining and developing rural communities. Thank you for attending this presentation on the Rooikoppie gravels. As this is a recording, I'm not available to take questions directly, but please feel free to send me an email. Alternatively, I can be reached on LinkedIn, and my other conference materials are hosted on SlideShare. If you're interested about videos about diamonds or what life in the field is like, then check out my YouTube channel. Thank you.